Good evening, Dolphins fans. Welcome to another episode here on the FinSide with Kat and Paul. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, all of our social media outlets, as well as the FanSided Network and FinFanatic.com. I'm Brian Cat NFL. Paul is Fanatic _pick. The Dolphins get back into the win column here on Sunday Night Football, taking down the Pittsburgh Steelers 16-10 in a very, very ugly game. But I'd rather be where the Dolphins are right now than some of the other teams in the AFC, like the Broncos, who can't seem to get anything right, and the Colts, who just benched Matt Ryan today. So, yeah, I mean, it's just good to come away with a win. We'll talk about all that. It did come at a price, though. Brandon Jones looks like he's going to be headed to IR. He's the Dolphins' leading tackler. They have a good backup in Eric Rowe, who has actually struggled at points this year too. But yeah, Paul, how would you categorize last night's victory?
I'll take it. I mean, there were moments the Dolphins looked cleaner with Tua back in the fold. I think we all held our breath a couple of times. Tua dropped a shoulder in this one. But at the end of the day, the Dolphins did enough to win. There's a couple little moments where I would have done something differently. I know we're going to talk about this a lot, but Liam Eichenberg continues to be the worst player on the field at times. And a player that we mentioned last week looked like he was starting to play the part, actually got to be the savior at the end of this game, which was awesome for the kid in Noah Igbenogany.
Yeah, good for him. And I loved seeing in the locker room him getting a lot of props there. You know, it's been a rough couple of years for him. And yeah, he's showing glimpses now. And another thing that's crazy, Noah Igbenogany's not even 23 yet, which is nuts to think about. He'll turn 23 here next month. But yeah, I mean, he came up with the game-winning interception. Dolphins also had an interception from Javon Holland. One from Justin Bethel as well, who played really well there as the nickelback there in the slot when he's taken over for Nick Needham. Bethel has not played a lot of cornerback in recent years. He's been more of a special teams guy, but a really nice pickup. Getting him on defense to help out, and also Brandon Shell on offense, I thought had another really good game too. So some of these guys are starting to step up here. But as far as what kind of game it was, Paul, I mean, look, the Dolphins had 160 yards in the first three drives, all scoring drives, 13 points, 160 yards. After that, it got ugly. I mean, neither team scored a point in the second half, which is crazy. But yeah, it's I do kind of feel like the Dolphins would have lost to 20, 21 other teams in the NFL with the way they played. They got fortunate to play the Steelers, but hey, a win is a win.
Well, and one thing I'll say too is, as a coach, I understand the aggressive play in some ways by McDaniel in this one, but I hope he learns from the fact that when you're in the midst of a defensive battle, in a half where no points have yet been scored, you really want to kick the three there no matter what your gut's telling you, because it would have made it a 2-score game and would have really, with the way the defense was playing in the second half, potentially put the game out of reach, which obviously now we know it would have been, but it would have forced a few things and forced a little less drama and stress in this game.
I'm with you on that. And you're talking in the middle of the third quarter about the decision to not kick the field goal and to run Chase Edmonds. I try not to be a second guesser with going forward, play calls, being aggressive, that kind of stuff. But I was screaming for them to kick the field goal before anything ever happens. Like, I don't care if they even get it. It's not the right call. Because, I mean, you think about it. You're in the middle of the third quarter. The opposing team has put one touchdown drive together. It's a rookie quarterback. It's in Miami. It's raining. You go up 2 scores in this game, and it's pretty much lights out.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you there. The defense, like, it was pretty cool seeing some of the guys that stepped up yesterday. I think Andrew Van Ginkel and Jalen Phillips, as an example, had two of their best games of their career yesterday. Definitely for Phillips. And the only reason why I say maybe for Van Ginkel is, he's scored touchdowns on defense before. So, and had some big moment, big plays, but it just felt like Jalen Phillips was all over the field yesterday, like all over the field.
He was, and yeah, he is playing with a lot of range and a lot of hustle too, in addition to this physical skill set that he brings. And yeah, so Christian Wilkins, Zach Sealer, a solid game up front. I thought the pass rush could have been a little bit better. Kenny Pickett was a little bit comfortable sitting back there throughout the game. But hey, 3 turnovers, or 3 interceptions. That when Justin Bethel got that interception, in the second quarter, it had been 6 straight games that the Dolphins did not have a pick. So hopefully, and we've seen this from the Dolphins defense, once they have a game like this, usually
they start feasting.
Yes,
and we talked about that last week too. With once they just get one off the board and get that off their backs, they're gonna start feasting. And you saw as soon as Bethel got that, we wound up with 2 more, which was exciting to see. I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have a good culture there defensively in the secondary where guys are constantly stepping up. Hey, Clayton Fedulum got on the field yesterday and he made some plays. Without question, that was the best game I've seen Fedulum on the field. On there, so,
I'd rather have Eli Campbell out there.
Veron McKinley, I would imagine is
him too. Like any of them.
Yeah, you gotta.
I'd rather have Tyreek Hill playing safety.
I'm kind of looking off to the side here a little bit, and the reason for that is the Patriots are losing right now to the Bears by 9 in the middle of the third quarter, and Bailey Zappi's in a quarterback. So yeah, let's the Patriots have looked pretty tough here over the last couple of weeks. Let's hope for a Dolphin or for a Patriots loss here.
Oh, poor Patriots with a quarterback controversy sounds terrible.
Yep.
Speaking of people that are out, I know you had a couple from the Jets you wanted to talk about here.
Yeah. So the Jets traded to the Jaguars for James Robinson today. Only a 5th-round pick. He's a solid player, but man, Breece Hall was starting to look like a superstar for them, and tears his ACL. And then Elijah Vera Tucker, who has been just who has really taken that next step up, played 3 different offensive line positions over 3 weeks, and he goes down for the year too. So yeah, I mean, if you get those out of the way for the Jets, get those 2 guys out, and then the Patriots drop this game. By the way, the Bears are getting the ball back, still up by 9. Yeah, I mean, it's a little less scary looking at the rest of the AFC this week. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, no, I mean it's Vera Tucker is very critical to what New York does up there, or New Jersey, really, if you want to tell the truth. And Breece Hall, like you said, is such a stud that him being out could affect what we've been seeing go on up there in Jersey.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And you can't look, the Jets have played really well the last, they beat the Packers, they beat the Dolphins, but they scored 67 points in 2 games, and Zach Wilson completed 24 passes. Like, that is just flat out not sustainable. And now you take away Breece Hall and Elijah Vera Tucker. Yeah, I really think they've got their work cut out for them. They're here over the next few weeks. And the Dolphins play the Jets in Miami late in the season. Hopefully that becomes a Dolphins victory. So Paul, let's get to the grades here. At the quarterback position, look, I I mean, it was pretty. I mean, I was so pumped of watching the first three drives. The Dolphins were just doing whatever they wanted. I mean, just chunk play after chunk play. I mean, and you know, like what first drive was 71 yards for a touchdown. Then they went 56 yards for a field goal, and then they had another 30 or 40-yard drive for another field goal. It's 13. Not that I'm thinking the Dolphins are going to steamroll this team. And then they scored 3 points the rest of the game. The Steelers really adjusted there, and I've got to tell you, after the first three drives, Tua did not look good. He did not look good. I mean, and look, I'm really happy to have Tua back. Don't get me wrong, great to see him back out there. But I counted at least 4 balls that should have been intercepted. Some of them really bad looking. But hey, he was off a couple of weeks too. So hopefully this was his way of shaking off the rust.
Yeah. So what was your grade, Cat?
I'm going to go C minus.
Okay.
You know, it's 21 for 35, 261, and a touchdown. If you look at the stat sheet, that's not too bad. I mean, in fact, actually, it's pretty good. 60% of your passes, you win the game, you throw for 260 yards. I just can't ignore 4 balls that should have been intercepted. 4 balls that where the defender had both hands on the ball, and it falls down. So I've got to count that.
Well, it's funny with that because it's something I started thinking about a lot when I was watching the game last night. We can be very hard on our quarterback when that happens, but you go back to the games we played against Baltimore, against Buffalo, and a few other games this season where our defense as well, whether it was a winning or losing effort, got their hands on balls that they didn't catch. That's a thing that happens to nearly every quarterback in nearly every game. And that's where, yes, were some of them bad? Sure. Were some of them a little bit ugly? Sure. Was there at least one play where Tua and the receiver were absolutely not on the same page? Absolutely. But I really didn't have a problem with Tua. I didn't feel like he killed drives in the way that Chase Edmonds and Liam Eichenberg did yesterday. I felt like those two definitely killed a few drives for Miami. And I didn't really have a huge problem with the way Tua played. It's not up to the standard that I have for him now. But I can definitely keep it in that. I'm going to go with a B minus, even though it's almost a B for me when it comes to that, because end of the day, everybody throws passes that could have, should have, would have been intercepted. They weren't.
Yeah, I think I agree with what you're saying. I also think that this was a little bit different. When you've got in a short period of time, you have 4. I mean, these should have blatantly been interceptions, 4 of them. So
I should have had a pick 6 that hit him right in his chest and bounced off against Josh Allen.
He did, but I'm not great in the Dolphins defense right now.
No, I know, but that's just where I look at it, and that's a fairly normalish thing, especially against good defense like this.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'll throw it back to you on running back.
Running back, we only had two running backs carry the ball in this game. I thought Alec Ingold did a decent job blocking when he got on the field. But Chase Edmonds and Raheem Mostert, kind of a tale of 2 different backs at this point. Chase Edmonds looks like he wound up being a bad investment at this point, despite the fact that he has a handful of touchdowns on the year. But Raheem Mostert looks stronger and stronger and stronger every week. And he really hit the hole hard a lot yesterday and got those little burst chunk yards. And I was very excited about that. I really wish they had utilized him more, to be honest with you. And I really wish they hadn't put the ball in Chase Edmonds' hands as much as they did yesterday. Again, Mostert had almost 5 yards of carry on 16 carries. So but Chase Edmonds does drag the grade down a little bit. I can give the running backs, I can give them a B here.
Yeah, I'll match you on the B there. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head with a lot of what you said there. Chase Edmonds had 7 carries for 17 yards and 2 drop passes. It seems like every week that's kind of That's kind of what we're talking about with him. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what to do there, but Mostert is a stud. I mean, every week, like you said, he gets stronger and better. I mean, in this game here, 16 carries for 79 yards and another 4 catches for 30. And you look at one of those catches, he lines up and runs a slant route, breaks a tackle, and it's a 20-yard gain. And I love his ability to get so quickly north to south. When he gets in a hole, if there's even the slightest hole, he can turn no gain or a yard into 5 very easily. And that's big. I'm ecstatic with him. 16 carries for 79 yards, 4.9 yards a carry, and he didn't have a run longer than 12 yards, which means he is consistently getting those positive gains. So yeah, I'm going to go with you on the B. Receiver, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill. It's just so difficult to cover these guys. I thought the Steelers did a lot better job of it there in the second half. Waddle, 4 catches, 88 yards. Nice, very nice bounce back game from him. Tyreek Hill, a more workmanlike 7 for 72, but if he's not killing you over the top, he can still beat you underneath. Trent Sherfield with a few big grabs. After the Dolphins get the ball back, first play deep in their own territory, Sherfield catches a 32-yard pass where he basically rips the ball from the defender. So I was impressed with that. Gesicki 3 for 27. I really felt they were covered a lot better in the second part of the game, in the second half. So because of that, I'm going to go with the B-.
I'm gonna go with a B here. Gesicki easily could have had 4 catches for about 45 yards here, or at least a pass interference penalty that was kind of blatantly not called when he had his arm yanked down to his body. But again, when you're 6'6", 260 pounds, I thought for a second you were going to the gritty for when you reach for fix your hat. When you're that big and that strong, you shouldn't just let a defensive back yank your hand down that hard and that far and that easily. But again, it's Gesicki seemed a little bit back to the guy he was 2 weeks ago instead of the guy last week, unfortunately. I really hope that they get him on the same page as Tua again, especially when he is your big jump ball guy when you get near the end zone. And it didn't feel like they were on the same page to be able to do that yesterday on the 2 drives that ended in field goals early in the game. But that's nitpicking. I can go with a B here.
Gotcha. Offensive line. God, it is such a relief to have, even for 1 week, just to have Teron Armstead back in the lineup. Tua had 35 dropbacks, 0 sacks, 0 pressures, 0 quarterback hits. The guy is just a all and out stud. And it looks like the toe didn't bother him as much this week. Hopefully that continues. I know he's quite an injury prone player, but man, he makes a huge difference. And Connor Williams had a great game too, especially in pass protection. Robert Hunt, solid. And Brandon Shell. I mean, look, I'll take Brandon Shell on a week-to-week basis. Okay. But you very rarely heard his name. And I'm looking for him to continue to be an average right tackle. That's all I want. No Jesse Davis, no Austin Jackson, just a middle of the pack right tackle. That's what I want Brandon Shell to become. And I'm glad. Yeah. He's I was really surprised he wasn't signed by a team in the offseason because he's not a great player, but I thought he's 27, 28, son of, Hall of Famer Art Shell. And he was okay for the Jets and the Seahawks. So I was pleased.
Yeah, no, I liked our tackle situation yesterday. Loved Robert Hunt. Connor Williams, another solid game. Liam Eichenberg, and I know it got brought up in the chat that he and Teron Armstead were opening holes. He also was closing holes. He also jumped off sides twice. He also missed several blocks, including on that critical fourth down. He couldn't sustain a block that got Chase Edmonds murdered in the backfield. So not a great game from Eichenberg, even though they did keep Tua fairly clean. I think a lot of it had to do with Tua's pocket presence and awareness yesterday. When it comes to some of the blocking up front, especially where Liam Eichenberg's concerned. But I can go with a B for the line. They kept him clean and kept Mostert with a good rushing average. I do think Liam Eichenberg needs to be replaced at this point.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'll stay with the B. I'll stay with the B as well. I mean, I think the run blocking, they missed some opportunities, but Mostert still had almost 5 yards of carry. I mean, and when you take a look at the pass protection, I mean, I feel like they did a really good job, and they started really bouncing back. And part of that too is this is also what happens when you have a lead, where you're not, opposing defenses are not just pinning their ears back and coming after the quarterback. So we didn't see a lot of that. That was a good thing too. Bears are up by 12. With
Hey, are you familiar with Simon Stallings? Supposedly from the Sun Sentinel.
Name sounds familiar, but I saw something in the chat that he was pretty insistent that this wasn't, they weren't all Tua's fault.
Nope, not to do with that.
Oh.
He's putting out there that the Dolphins are, and again, this is something we need to check in on a little bit more on, but the chat's asking about it a little bit. The Dolphins have been inquiring casually about Jerry Jeudy that they may be moving on from and what it would take.
I did hear some whispers about that. I think that would be really weird. Like, and look, because the obvious response all the time is, well, go get an offensive tackle or a cornerback. There's really nobody out there. I mean, no, cornerback there is, but you're not going to find an offensive tackle. You're not going to find a guard. Taylor, I don't know, maybe Taylor Moton, but yeah, the whole thing with Jeudy, I think I think he's a talented player.
Yeah, hell of a 3 wide receiver set.
Yeah, but you've also, I mean, gosh, like how many guys, you already have guys, you already have Mike Gesicki and Cedric Wilson and Eric Ezuka who can't get on the field. Like, I mean, I would have a hard time if Judy's unhappy coming to Miami and being the third receiver. I think that would be odd.
Well, I think he takes a lot of reps away from Sherfield, Wilson, potentially Gesicki. And who knows if Gesicki would end up being part of that deal.
You never know. I do think Gesicki's going to be dealt.
I would make a move with Gesicki involving Jerry Jeudy. I would. I know I hemmed and hawed and hesitated when it came to draft picks at this point. I would make a move that got Jerry Jeudy on this roster.
Gotcha. I think it would be weird, and I don't think it's going to happen. But I mean, hey.
I mean, what Dolphins wouldn't do weird. Mike McDaniel wouldn't do weird.
Yeah, I mean, Ed, hey, if Jerry Jeudy's like, hey, I want to come to Miami and I want to play with Tua again. Yeah, I still don't think it's going to happen. I think
but that's an interesting one to monitor here.
It is, and I think Jeudy might get dealt somewhere. Yeah, so we'll see. On the defensive side of the ball, Paul, obviously when you let up 10 points throughout the entire game, that's certainly a good thing. 3 interceptions, 2 sacks. I am really enjoying watching Jalen Phillips continue to emerge. He got off to a slow start in the first couple of games. But really over the last 3, I think he's played really, really well, especially the last 2. So you've got that. Wilkins had a little bit more of a quiet game than we're used to, which is fine. He played okay. Zach Sealer is, again, if he with a PFF, I know some people are touch and go with him. I'm kind of the same way, but he was graded this year. I know before this game as the best run defender that they've graded. And it was by a wide margin, too. And the Dolphins have done pretty well against the run this year. I mean, heading into this game, 3.65 yards a carry to opposing running backs. I think that's a very good thing. Omar in the chat says Josh Boyer's doing a great job. I'm a big Josh Boyer defender. I really am. And I thought he owned this game plan here. And it's telling that the defensive coordinator is constantly having these guys step up. So, could have forced a little more pressure. So that's why I'm not going to quite give him an A, but I thought it was a really workmanlike, solid performance. I'm going to go with a B+ for the defensive line.
I'm going to go with an A- here. I really love the play where Zach Sealer forced Pickett to roll right into Jalen Phillips and get murdered. I thought Christian Wilkins was better in the run game than he was in the pass rush game this week. But again, Christian Wilkins has set such a high bar at this point that it's hard to not judge him a little more harshly than other people, which is great. Jalen Phillips, again, was utterly all over the field last night, making plays in down the field, up the field, at the quarterback, in the backfield. I think he had 4 tackles for loss in this one, 1.5 sacks. He really was causing problems for the Steelers offense, and I'm here for it. So I can go with an A- for that. And shoot, there was a point you made I was going to make a comment on. I can't quite think of what it was now. So anyway,
Zach Sealer.
No, it was right before we went to the defensive line. So not a big deal.
Gotcha. A linebacker. And I haven't looked too much into this, but is it just me, or did I hardly not see Landon Roberts at all yesterday?
He had some good plays. He also didn't make as many of the big explosive plays that we're used to.
And Duke Riley was out there a lot too, and I'm a big Duke Riley. I like Duke Riley a lot.
Duke wrecked a few plays and put the Steelers in a bad way several times yesterday.
Yeah, he did. He did allow that 4th and 5, but that was pretty good coverage too. The Freiermuth catch, at which point I was starting to become very convinced the Dolphins were going to lose that game. But yeah, Duke Riley always seems like he's all over the field. Jerome Baker, didn't hear much from him yesterday. I do think you're right too that I think they got to use him differently.
I did like that they used Sam Eguavon a little bit yesterday as kind of a situational pass rusher towards the end of the game, trying to just get a little bit more speed getting in the backfield.
Yeah. And just going back and chat, Russ Crowd said Zach Sealer's a beast and still getting better. I think he just hired. Didn't he just hire Drew Rosenhaus? Or I think he hired a different agent. So, I mean, that might mean he's looking to get a raise sometime soon. I know he got a pay raise.
I wouldn't blame him.
Yeah, I don't blame him either. He's a good player. In fact, I think he's Dolphin. I'm not going to say he and Wilkins are different, but really impressed with the Dolphins have there at D tackle. Andrew Van Ginkel had his best game, no doubt about that. That's probably not saying much, but he looked a lot more like himself. He was getting after the quarterback. He didn't have any huge plays, but he wasn't far away from him either. So, the linebackers, I liked a lot of what I saw from Riley and Van Ginkel. I'm going to go with the B+.
Yeah, I mean, I'm starting to get curious what's going on with Channing Tindall here. I really am. But again, Jerome Baker had some very good coverage at times yesterday. I thought Landon Roberts was okay, just not up to the level he's been most of this season. I loved what I saw from Duke Riley. Andrew Van Ginkel was one of the best players on the field yesterday. And we really limited Najee Harris a lot. So I can go with an A- for the linebacker core again in a game that they shut them out in the second half and, limited the run game and only held them to 10 points.
Defensive back, I'll throw it back to you on that.
I loved what we saw from the defensive backs yesterday. I was very upset to see Brandon Jones go down. 3 interceptions from the group. Yes, George Pickens had an insane George Pickens-like catch, which he gets 1 or 2 of those a game in the end zone for that touchdown, and I think he made another one along the sidelines. It was weird because it almost felt like the big plays that happened came against Xavier Howard and not Justin Bethel, not Noah Igbenogany, which is a very weird thing to be saying right now. If you told me that one of the three people I just mentioned were where a big play occurred, I would have basically said Noah Bethel. I don't know, one of the linebackers. Like, I would have left the defensive backfield at that point. Javon Holland continues to be an animal and a monster out there and really impact the game. I thought he was going to take that interception to the house at one point, but yeah, 3 interceptions. I can go with an easy A here, especially with a depleted backfield.
Absolutely. And hey, I hate being so distracted. Bears up by 12, end of the third quarter, and the Bears have the ball in field goal range. So we are be a huge upset here. I mean, Patriots can't do anything. Anyway, yeah, defensive back Xavier Howard it's exciting to say he's looking like his old self again. Maybe not, still no interceptions, but he was
they got a couple throws over him yesterday, but it is what it is.
Yeah, not too many. I think he allowed 35 receiving yards. So
okay.
I like and hey, look, I'm so happy for Noah getting the game-winning interception and everything. Before that, he wasn't terrible, but he did let up some big catches. And there was one, the 31-yard or the 30-yarder to George Pickens along the sideline. I'm not sure what he was doing on that play, but he certainly lost track of him. But hey, good for Noah with the game-winning interception. I was more impressed with Justin Bethel.
Yeah.
And, you know, in the slot, I feel like the Dolphins haven't lost anything for Needham here over the last game and a half, but Needham's still a good player. But constantly seeing these guys step up. Javon Holland with not only the interception, but just played a fantastic game all around. Brandon Jones, what a shame. You know, somebody who's a great blitzer, leading the team in tackles. He's going to be a big loss, but I'm glad that you got Eric Rowe behind him. Just Rowe can't show more signs of age. It seems like year by year he starts to erode just a little bit more. So we'll see who steps up now. Clayton Fedulum got on the field, and there were 2 plays Fedulum made that I was impressed with. There was one, a long pass that he leapt and he barely got a finger on it. That would have been a big play for Pat Freiermuth there. So
I will never say I was impressed with Clayton Fedulum.
All right. So defensive backs. Yeah. So Kenny Pickett on the day here. 32 for 44. So completed a high percentage of his passes, 257 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. Yeah, I'm going to go with an A- on that. I think they were every bit the reason why the Dolphins won that game.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. So special teams.
Not many mistakes. I think it was the best game by far. There was one play Raheem Mostert dropping the kickoff and then picking it up, and then that was the one. And then they were pinned back like at their 11, and then Sherfield had the 32-yard catch on the next play. So they dug themselves out of that hole pretty quickly. Jason Sanders, 3 for 3 on field goals, 1 for 1 on extra points. Just keep him with inside 50 yards, and hopefully we're good to go on that. Morstead, 6 punts, 4 of them inside the 20. So, I mean, just again, friend of the podcast, but you know, I think we're judging him pretty accurately here too. We're not being biased with this guy. He's putting together a really good season punting the football here for the Dolphins. Not a lot of return stuff. Cedric Wilson was back there returning punts, which I thought was a little bit bizarre, but
it was.
But I mean, definitely more good than bad here. When you look at 4 punts inside the 20, 3 for 3 on field goals, didn't let up any big returns. So I'll go with an A-.
I'll match you on that. It's the punt returning with Cedric Wilson looked like a bad experiment. But again, it's, you know, Thomas Morstead dropping the ball where he did all day. Jason Sanders being 100% on field goals and putting a bunch of kickoffs through the end zone. Yeah, no, I can match on the A-. Not a lot needs to be said. So I'm glad you brought up player of the game and Coke Bus player there, because there's a lot of play. I'm totally jumping in front of you so I can take this one.
No, go for it. Go for it. Player of the game, Coke Bus player of the game.
I will give Liam Eichenberg the Coke Bus player of the game. There may have been a couple of candidates, but he was first and foremost for me. I felt like he killed several drives in this game. For my player of the game, there are actually a number of people that could get it, but because I have put him on the Coke Bus several times already this year and been so hard on the man for the last couple of years, and he had the game sealing play in this one in a game that Pittsburgh was very much alive at the end, and did a tremendous job of toe tapping to keep his feet in bounds to pull in that game winning interception. Noah Igbenogany, I'm about to utter words I never thought I would say to you, but Noah Igbenogany, you are my player of the game right now.
Wow, that's got to be a first there, and yeah, I mean, game clinching interception there at the end. I really had my doubts on the final drive. I thought, oh man, but he came away with it. Good for him. My Coke Bus player of the game here, there, for a game I wasn't all that impressed with for the Dolphins. Yes, I'm glad they won. Having a tough time coming up with somebody. I've got to say Tua, because of the 4 near interceptions. I'm having a tough time coming up with anybody else.
We'll give it to Eichenberg too then.
No.
Gesicki.
I would have had Eichenberg, but I thought
Cedric Wilson.
The second half he played very poorly. He put the ball in harm's way so many times. These were the one near interception with Cameron Sutton. I mean, that's the easiest pick he's going to have in his life, and he drops it. Dolphins kick a field goal, and that ends up making a difference in the game. So I am elated to his back. Don't get me wrong. He has the highest quarterback rating in the NFL, but we saw after in the Patriots game earlier this year when he had some interceptions dropped in that game too. Well, next game, against the Ravens, early on, the Dolphins get into a big hole. He has 2 interceptions. So, and don't get me wrong, the fourth quarter was amazing.
Oh, you could have gone Chase Edmonds.
Yeah, he would have been a decent one. I'm sticking with Tua for now. But again, I think Tua, you look at the next few weeks, and next week you got the Lions. You better throw for a lot of yards and you better do a good job. I think so. My player of the game, I'm going with Jalen Phillips. I thought there's the one play where Kenny Pickett, I think it was a hold on the play, but when Kenny Pickett broke the pocket and just darted over to the sideline and was going to try to get the first down, and Phillips came from the backside and chased him all the way down. And Pickett is not Lamar Jackson, but he's a 4.65, 4.7 type of run. I mean, and Phillips tracked him down. He's got 3 sacks now in the year, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else he has. Touchdown Bears. This game is over.
Ace.
Bears go up by 19 in the fourth quarter here in New England. So anyway,
that stadium's got to be emptying out right now.
Yeah, I'm turning the TV off because I feel like I've been rude this entire show, just looking over the whole time. But
I'm sure the people tuned in to watch you watch TV.
But yeah, I'm happy with the victory here. It was an ugly win, but I'm very, very happy with it. So now coming up, Paul, these next 4 games, you've got the Lions at Detroit, then you've got at Chicago. That's a game I'm going to. So if anybody is headed down there, there's a big tailgate. Mark Angelo's friend, his name's Tim. The full name's escaping me right now, but I'm going to be going to that. Really taking it all in. So you've got the Lions, you've got the Bears, then you've got the Browns, and then the Texans. These next 4 games, yeah, I mean, this is winning season. You got to win. You got to win at least 3 of these next 4, if not 4. And I think they can win all 4 of them. So we will see. Anything else jump out here from the show here tonight, Paul?
No, man, it's just nice to get back in the win column, get back above 500 now. And ready to roll forward here. I expect Tua to be a little bit sharper this coming week. We need to get the secondary healthy somehow, some way, whether it's via trade, whether it's guys coming back from IR. Yeah, no, that's the biggest concern I have at the moment, is getting the secondary healthy to move forward with.
Absolutely. And yeah, William Jackson III, I'm still very interested in. I hope the Dolphins do pull off a trade. One name I heard too, if things continue to go from bad to worse for the Lions here, is and I'm gonna butcher his name, but it's the cornerback there from the Lions, not Jeffrey Okudah, but with Amaria Warzier. I know I'm botching that name, but a big long cornerback too. Is somebody that if he's available, I would be very interested. But I think you do have to get another body in here. That's going to do it for our breakdown here of the Dolphins' 16-10 win over the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday Night Football. I'm Brian Cat NFL. Paul is fanatic_pick. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, all over social media outlets. And if it's not on the right side and it's not on the left side,